Welcome to this evening's program. My name is Judy Jackers, the Associate Director for Multicultural Affairs. This program, more than just an org, a discussion on the impact of Black fraternities, sororities, and college experience, is part of our Black History Month 2023 series. I want to especially welcome our invited panelists, who we'll introduce in a minute, guests, dear alumni who are in the room, and of course our senior leadership, faculty, staff, and students that are present tonight. This event has been a long while in the making, and we want to thank the creator for bringing us together this evening for this Black History Month program that is also a collaboration between the Unity Cultural Center, which is part of the Office of Multicultural Affairs, and the Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life. As part of Black History Month, we want to include a conversation regarding the historical impact of Black fraternity and sorority organizations on the college experience. We all know the sense of belonging and feeling included in a community is highly important. Today's students may not be able to appreciate the importance of culturally based organizations or the impact of ethnic affinity groups to the survival and success of students. We hope that tonight can be a highlight of the significance and impact that fraternities and sororities have had on shaping student life, the landscape of higher education, and the marks on Black history. I also want to acknowledge my student assistant, Ric McClendon, who is part of the Unity Cultural Center staff and who really helped conceive the idea for this event. Jalen has been instrumental in making connections with members and/or representatives of a long list of folks in connection to many of the organizations that are here tonight, and some who regretfully were not able to participate. We hope that this is just another moment in growing the relationship with these organizations for our campus. If you're wondering about the rest of Black History Month, please take a moment to visit the Black History Month website at stonybrook.edu/BHM to see the full calendar of events. Exciting things are happening on our campus and off campus throughout February and beyond. I also want to bring to the center stage my co-collaborator, who's going to introduce himself and tell you a little bit about what is happening with fraternity and sorority life here on our campus in recent times, right?
Hello, good evening. How are we feeling tonight?
Great.
Okay, we need a little more energy. How are we feeling tonight? Good. All right, there we go. I don't know about y'all, but I'm loving this panel. Just the representation, I'm excited. So my name is Sixto. I am the Director of Fraternity and Sorority Life. And I'm here to kind of just chat a little bit about the history of fraternity and sorority life. So fraternities and sororities have existed on Stony Brook's campus for over 40 years. And you know, there is no unknown factor that fraternities and sororities have been here for quite some time. But the concept of our department, the Fraternity and Sorority Life Department, is something that was newly established. And that was established at the beginning of last semester. So as the inaugural director of Fraternity and Sorority Life, my role is to support the vision and leadership of all aspects of fraternity and sorority life. So today, you know, it's with great honor and pride that I'm able to stand here before you to have this panel discussion with our community here, to really talk about the important experience that these individuals had and how these organizations impacted them. So our goal within Fraternity and Sorority Life is to really have a robust experience for our students that are involved with our organizations. And that is through you know, what we all stand by, which is service, philanthropy, community relations, an interest in serving mankind. So for this year, as director, one of our main goals was to really focus on the experience of our Black and Latinx organizations. So as mentioned, you know, a lot of these organizations here, we are working through bringing them back onto campus. So we are hoping, and we're super excited to have them here. So if y'all want to know a little bit more about them, today is the time to learn more and ask questions. I also want to give a little shout out to our moderators who really played an integral role in creating, bringing back these organizations through our expansion efforts, and really are invested in the vision and mission of fraternity and sorority life here at Stony Brook University. So those individuals are Dean Ric and Unity Watts Bailey, who will be serving as our moderators for this evening. And I just wanted to do a little plug. Our folks here will also be participating this weekend at the Fraternity and Sorority Life Expo, which is taking place in the SAC Auditorium at 7 p.m. So if you're interested and you hear something from today that really sparks something in you, come and see them perform. And they will also be tabling from 5 to 7 in our SAC 169 room. So I am just going to do a little sideshow from here to my friends, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then going to allow our panelists to introduce themselves as well.
Thank you, Sixto. Dr. Ric McClendon. I am the Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students, and I've been at Stony Brook since July of 2021. So I came as we were trying to exit parts of the pandemic to bring back campus life, create culture, create sense of belonging, but also rebuild campus life and those experiences. So I'm excited to have the panelists, so thank you all for coming back. I think it's important that our today's student get to see the alumni, where their lives are taking them, how being a part of Greek life has shaped their experiences, but also how they're still involved today as alumni, and how they're engaged in their work, and how being a part of Greek life supports the initiatives that they do in the workplace, in their communities, and so forth. So thank you all for taking time to be here this evening. I know you guys come from a lot of different places too, so thank you.
Thank you, Dean Rick. My name is Unity Watts Bailey. I work in campus residences, so Camp Res, if some of you are some of our alumni. I am the Associate Director for Apartments and Suites. We have recently separated our first year and living learning communities to have an upper division area, so it's 5 different communities on campus. And so what I've been charged with is creating a residential community and experience that includes, the learning that takes place outside of the classroom. So I feel like sorority and fraternity, fraternity and sorority life, that's part of it. And so I'm super, super excited to have been a friend to the team and to be able to lend my services this evening. Super excited for you all to be here. All the melting popping is excited out here on this Long Island. But again, so feel free to ask the different questions and to just enjoy what we're about to do for everyone. So thank you.
So if you notice on all of the tables, there are note cards and pens. If you need more, let me know. I'll be at this front table here with Sixto and Jalen, and we can stop by. We'll be collecting them throughout the discussion. We have some suggested or pre-prepared questions that we'll pose to the panelists. And they'll sure to tell us a little bit about them and in the way that they answer the question as well. But we want to hear from you as well. So that's the way that we will collect those questions. We may not get to every one of them, but we'll try our best. So we shall begin.
So I'm going to take question 1. And okay, you're going to introduce yourselves. All right, number 1. So go ahead and get started.
Good evening, Ron Wilson of Phi Alpha Fraternity, initiated Fall 1997 at CW Post Campus, graduate advisor for Row chapter seated at Stony Brook University. Thank you.
Can everyone hear in the back? Okay.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew McKinley. I'm a spring 2010 initiate of the Pyro chapter at Stony Brook University, from the Bronx, New York, and I'm definitely glad to be back to provide insight and information about my fraternity. It's great to see the lovely alumni here as well, and I'm glad to be back. What's a sea-wolf? That's still the phrase?
I'm a sea-wolf.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right, good evening, everyone. Everyone can hear me? Yeah. All right, cool. My name is Donnie Dow. I'm an initiate of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated in spring of 2008 here at Stony Brook University by way of Cairo chapter, which oversees all of Suffolk County, Long Island. My chapter acts as an intermediate chapter for graduates and undergraduates. So I'm very happy to be here today to give some insight on my organization and answer many of your questions. And the campus looks beautiful, by the way, because this was not here when I was here. This whole building is different.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Fatima Y. Robinson, and I was initiated in the prestigious Pi Lambda chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated on the campus of Iona College, now known as Iona University. I currently serve as the chapter president of the prestigious and sensational Suffolk County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. I am happy to be here this evening. So thank you, Jalen, for the invitation, and I'm excited to share this stage with my Divine Nine sisters and brothers.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kojo Danso. I'm a fall 2007 initiate of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, the new Delta chapter of Stony Brook University. I graduated in 2020, so I'm a recent graduate of Stony Brook. But it's good to be back and see all like familiar faces, including like some alumni. And I'm just glad to be here to share some insights about Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated and just Greek life in general.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah? All right, cool. I can't use that. So my name is Catherine Young. I am a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I was initiated through the Theta Kappa chapter here at Stony Brook University in fall 2010. When we mean lifetime commitment, we do mean it. I am 13 years in uninterrupted service, which means I immediately went to my graduate chapter that covers Suffolk County, which is New Phi Zeta chapter. I'm just happy to be here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nadia Burrows. I use the pronouns she and her. I'm absolutely delighted to be here this evening, and on behalf of myself and my sorors from Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, we welcome you and invite any questions. It is wonderful to see this panel of individuals that we have here. I came into the organization fall 1991. I know many of you aren't even alive. Fall 1991, I am a member of our graduate chapter in Brooklyn, and I'm also a life member in my organization as well.
Good evening. Yes, good evening. My name is Abdul Malik Abubakar. I'm a member of Malik Fraternity Incorporated, Spring 19, Jim chapter. I'm also the graduate coordinator of Fraternity Sorority Life here at Stony Brook University. If you guys have any questions, please ask.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deron Newman. I am a former two-sport student athlete at St. John's University. I crossed the 99 inaugural chapter at St. John's University. I used to be the former assistant director for student personnel marketing at Campus Rec. I am currently, just for the last year, the president of the chapter of Phi Delta Psi Fraternity Incorporated National Board.
Thank you, everyone. Super excited to have you here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and kick it off. And so what we're going to do is kind of just ask a question. Someone can raise their hand if they want to, kind of take a jump in the pool. So on behalf of your organization, can you share some points of pride that have impacted Black history nationally or globally, or even regionally? I'm excited to hear that a lot of you were initiated in the area. Anyone want to take this question?
So I would just start off by saying that for Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, our first social action public service project was participating in the Women's Suffrage March in March of 1913. And that is impactful for Black history because as women, we were not on the front lines in marches, and they joined other women, white women, I'm sorry to say, to help their voices be heard, the right to vote. And as women not wanted to be present, or they were pretty much ranted with racial slurs, they still decided to march in this women's suffrage march. So that was our first public service act. And I'm just grateful to say, in 2013, 100 years later, we reenacted that march. Myself, Suffolk County Alumni Chapter, and all of my sorors throughout the United States internationally, we participated in this reenactment. So I am proud of that, to say that that was the first act for my sorority that was just shy of 2 months old of their founding date in January 13, 1913.
Thank you, Soror. Yes.
So I would say, first and foremost, we just celebrated our centennial, our 100th year last year in 2022. Thank Thank you. And I would just say, the order that we are seated in is the year in which our organizations were founded. So if you think about all of these organizations that came before us, I think we all kind of have a moment and a time in Black history. But specifically for my organization, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, as I mentioned, we were founded in 1822, but of the National Pan-Hellenic Council, or NPHC, we were the first sorority that was founded on a PWI, so predominantly white institution. We were also the first sorority, the first and only sorority, the only sorority to be founded on PWI. We were also the only sorority to not be founded at Howard University, which is a historically Black college and university. And so when we just think about the time and the climate back in 1822, in 1922, we know that segregation was still legal, and it was really the uprising of the Ku Klux Klan. And so at our college, Butler University, where we were founded in Indianapolis, Indiana, at that time, about a couple of 100 feet from our university, was the Grand Marshal of the Ku Klux Klan. His house was there. And so in order for students to access that campus, they basically had to pass that house. And so you can think about the climate and the environment at that time, and creating a space and place for Black and brown students, specifically women, to come together was really critically important, and I really commend our founders for that. So when you think about the climate maybe at HBCU, where you basically have this space and the culture and the ability to create your own, we really were creating that environment for Black and brown people on this campus where, in many cases, we were hated. And so, it really kind of creates this, creating unity and creating community for people that really need it the most, but really coming together on, again, a predominantly white campus in which people were trying to make it their own. And so I really just commend my founders and appreciate that, and appreciate that time, obviously.
Thank you.
Grab this for a second. All right. So there are I could sit here and talk for hours about my illustrious organization, but like many of us, we all have an important part in history from the time of our founding, which were in the early 1900s, to where we're at today. On behalf of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, one proud moment I could say is that we were the first fraternity that was founded at a historical Black college at Howard University. To piggyback on that, right now we're in the month of February, which is what? Black History Month. And does anyone know who the father of Black history is? Who was an initiate of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Now, how many people in here go and get or donate blood? By show of hands, if you donate blood. Okay. So in 1941, there was a doctor by the name of Dr. Charles R. Drew. He was the man who perfected the use of blood plasma, and he was the reason why we're able to transfuse blood. That same thing that he created for us in history was the same tool that he was denied, which caused his demise. So I just wanted to give just a blanketed kind of what the fraternity is about as far as from history, from Black History Month to some of the important men in history like Dr. Charles R. Drew and his creation of blood transfusion. But we all have a lot of people that were significant in history in our organizations.
We're going to take one more on this question.
Everybody knows Martin Luther King.
That's right. Absolutely.
Everybody knows the importance of Martin Luther King. Everybody knows Martin Luther King was assassinated. I'm not even going to go into that history, but we are the first organization to build a monument with our money where all the presidents stand. So, looking back on Black history, there is no other Black person, Black, green, no matter what. Martin Luther King's monument is there, and Al Phi Alpha created that. Martin Luther King is one that y'all remember. But we need to focus not on the past, but we need to focus on what are we about to do today. And that's what Al Phi Alpha is leading the way with. Movements of today. We can all talk about past, what we did in the past. We've all done great things in the past, but we need to really focus on the future. And if anybody has questions at the end, I'll take you to where the vision is for the fraternity for the future. Thank you.
And that's actually a great segue into the question I'm going to ask. A lot of our organizations were founded on a college campus. And so can some of you share some experiences about the significance of starting on a college campus as opposed to being created through a community-based organization or as opposed to being through a professional organization that created your organization? So you can talk about that.
I'll start with that. So in 1906, on Cornell University, there was segregation, as you know. Black and brown people had to use their resources together, pull their resources together. We started as a social studies club, then we became a literary society, then we became Alpha Alpha Fraternity, which means if there was 10 black and brown people on the campus, 6 or 7 of those were our founders that pulled together their resources to better serve the public and to graduate college. Like, we can't understand, we have nice buildings down, we have segways, that we have all of these rights on these campuses, but remember, 1906, 1912, 1908, you wasn't getting all of these services that you're getting now. You wasn't allowed to go to these schools. You wasn't allowed to do the things that you do now. So basically, these men and women that were in all of these organizations fought for the rights for us to have what we have now. And we always forget that. History repeats itself because it can be taken away from us again.
To the end.
I think one of the biggest things, especially for my organization, which was founded in 1977, was during that time was a very big drug era at that very big drug era coming at that time, and keeping our young black men in school and not falling into especially the cocaine and heroin era from there. I've had a lot of friends that have fallen into it, things like that, but during that time, keeping students in school and educating them and showing them there's a way that they can get out through education, not just through sports as well, was very key for us to continue to build going forward.
Anyone else want to share?
Yeah, so my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, we were founded January 5th, 1911 in Indiana University. So as previous people mentioned that around this time it was definitely a segregated and racial time where these founders were dealing with a lot of name calling, extreme version of bullying, definitely things that couldn't really be said on here. So when these founders and my fellow brothers created this fraternity, they did it to look out for one another, to hold each other's back, and things of that nature. Now, moving forward, even to like current day, as me being a brother of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, when I attended Stony Brook, I definitely see the community and network aspect of the fraternity. So there's times I could go to University of Albany, I could go to a college out in California where I know that I'll be in good hands because of my brothers who definitely hold me down with fraternalism and hospitality. That's something that I feel may have, not to downplay any professional network organization, but just like a little upper hand when it comes to that. So definitely, and also like what he mentioned, as far as historically, when these founders came together to come up with this idea of this fraternity, once again, is looking for each other's back and providing these tools that we have, this accessibility to all these things that we have now. So.
Thank you. And I think it's so important to understand those who came before, the groundwork that was laid for the success of our students, especially our Black and Latin students on a college campus. And I think identifying not only what those resources and that struggle and that history was all about, but I think understanding what your role is in furthering that legacy and honoring that legacy on an annual basis too, and throughout your life, not only as a student on College Now, but in your careers and your family life. So I appreciate being able to talk about the history and the founding and kind of what that legwork was laid for. But I think it's also important to understand what your contribution is when you decide to say, I'm going to join an organization, I'm going to support and be a part of a community. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I would think that all of the organizations here would identify as community-based organizations, as well as professional organizations. So for Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, Incorporated, we have a presence both on the undergraduate level, where you can pursue membership, and also on the graduate level. So once you post graduation, once you've attended a four-year university or college. In addition to that, we have an affiliate group, affiliate members called Philos, and these are for women that want to advance the mission and cause of Sigma Gamma Rho and work in collaboration with us, but may not have had the opportunity to attend a four-year college. And so I think we kind of all are community-based. We're constantly giving back to the community in various different ways. For our organization, it initially started out as a teachers organization, as all of our founders were educators and believed very strongly in the premise of education and uplifting our communities. And so I think they're kind of all interrelated. There's definitely that intersectionality across, as you related, community-based, organizational-based, et cetera.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think because it started on a college campus where students were, in a space and place where they could form those things, as opposed to a church organization creating this, or as opposed to like some business saying, we're gonna open up our doors to have this kind of organizing. So academics brought us together, being in a college environment, to learning and growing and developing as people allow for that to happen. So you're right. It started in the college environment and through time has evolved to where it is today. So thank you for sharing that perspective. All right. Also, I want to remind folks, as Judy said earlier, there are cards on the table. Start going ahead and writing your questions down, because we want to allow the opportunity for the alumni to answer some of your questions too.
60 is passing around the offering plate.
Oh, it's definitely a collection plate.
Be resourceful.
All right, so moving on. Ron, I think you had talked about what a campus looked like back in the day, right? And you had talked about history repeating itself and things of that nature. But sometimes, if you decide to attend a college or university, you may not see a lot of people that look like you, right? And so that's what made me think of some of what our students may experience in regard to seeing other Black and brown students. So I wanted to use that to segue into how does your organization help to foster success for students while they're in college? I would want to say success, and I would want to say relationships, and I would also want to say just in terms of how does it help for the betterment of them as a human being?
So my name is Kojo. I'm a brother of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. So I would like to start off as a member. So when it comes to how my organization helps its members during their undergrad, I could say scholarship opportunities, just for some students who come from various communities where sometimes, tuition and other things aren't affordable. So my organization, has scholarship opportunities where they can apply for through essays that give them the chance to, get some money from the organization to help further the education. Next would be our different regional conferences. So when I was an undergrad, I used to attend these conferences, and as a student, it helped build my confidence. It helped me also network with other people around the region and also see other brothers from different schools where we could also toss up ideas. So I think those are two things that helped me as an undergrad, being a member, and now I'm going to pivot to how we help other students. So as an undergrad, we also had something called Study with the Sigmas. And this way we bring people who are not members of our organization, but just to bring students across campuses where they could have like a zone or a room where they could study with other students and other peers, where they could prepare better for like your finals. And we do that because we want other students to know that you don't have to be a part of our organization to get help and get feel that kind of presence of family. And during exams, that's a tough time. So those are two things that I would say my organization does, and most organizations also do for students while in college as well.
He said he was from down south. I said, you got family here in New York? He said, no. I said, do you want family here in New York? He said, yes. I said, say less. My door's always open to you. And he's been to my house numerous times, and we've built a great friendship since then. But to answer the question, I don't feel like my blackness has changed. I've always known that I was Black before D9, or before Omega. I'm still the same old Donnie from half the family from Barbados, the other side from St. Martin. I'm still the same person with or without the organization. And that'll lead me to the next concept is, just because you join a Greek organization does not mean that you're going to change as a person. It'll make you better because you're doing community-based things. You are learning about other people's cultures. You are building more bridges than you would have if you weren't in an organization like this. But it doesn't change who you are. You're still the same person you are before you join the organization.
So, like everyone said, I definitely do agree with everything. I think joining an organization did not change my blackness, but what I could say it really helped me did was try to introduce more of our culture to people on different campuses. So such as like Stony Brook, I think it challenged me to want to show people why it's important to have these kind of cultures that, you know, our D9s have, or even black culture on a PWI campus, or a campus where a lot of people don't know our culture. So I think that pushed me a lot to, you know, just try to educate others that don't know a lot about us. You know, because like, I'm from the Bronx, you know, I know my culture, you know, luckily like my parents are African immigrants, so I really know where I'm from. But when you come to school, like Stony Brook, when I first came to Stony Brook, I felt like sometimes a lot of students are quiet or tend to hide your culture or your sense of being black. But being that, you know, joining this organization, even having brothers and, you know, sisters from different places, and, you know, just trying to join that culture and trying to educate others was something that, like, it pushed me to do more. So I think, like, that's one aspect that I feel like most of us try to do while we're on campus and even in our communities all the time, trying to show people, like, embracing being black and not hiding it because we are not the majority, you know. So that's just the kind of things I learned while joining my organization.
Can I just add something? I think it's interesting to hear you talk about the evolution of Stony Brook. So Stony Brook in the 90s was lit. You know, there was a really big sense of community here at Stony Brook. And do we still have CSO here? Is that community?
Yes, I'm the past president.
There we go. So, you know, I think it was really like groups like that outside of, if, you know, a sorority and fraternity was not for you, there were other types of group. I met a young woman today who's part of Black World, which is the, sorry? That's it? Which is the student newspaper, and that was literally started back in the 90s. And so we kind of created that. And so I think then, you know, I was born in the Bahamas. All of my family's in the Bahamas, grew up here in New York. But when I came to Stony Brook, it was literally, you talk about diving into culture, that was such a big thing. And I think there was like various people identifying with exploring, learning more about different cultural aspects of different Black people. So whether you were from the US or from another place outside of the US, it was really kind of building that community and learning all of these different differences. So it surprises me to hear that we have Black and brown students that are here on campus now that may not be embracing their Blackness, and I definitely think that that is something that if you are sitting in a room, you know, try to reach out and learn and hear about and really step into your culture, because you should be very proud to be a Black and brown person in America in this day and age. And so really kind of find your people, find your tribe here. And for you young people, get off your phones and talk to people, meet people, introduce yourself, and really start building that community if you feel that you don't already have it here.
Can I throw a question back to the administration?
We're going to have to Ron, and then yes, you can throw the question. Are we the administration tonight? Okay.
You got Dean in front of this title.
I think one of the key things that especially everybody's saying, and being a person from the Bronx as well, is one of the key foundational words, it's value, right? So I don't think it's changed my life, so it's adding value to my Blackness, right? When people say, oh, you're from the Bronx, we may have that pride, but some people be like, I ain't never going to the Bronx, right? Like, I'm staying way out of it. But I said, I'm from the Bronx, and I got a degree. I'm from the Bronx, and I did this. I'm from the Bronx, and I joined my fraternity, and I'm doing this, and I became the national president. You start to add value to your Black. So I think it's having our students, and again, continue younger people growing up, understanding their value, number one, and how to continue to add to their value, which adds to the significance and the empowerment of their Blackness.
All right, hit us.
So I just wanted to throw this question back, because during my time here at Stony Brook, and some people were here during the same time I was, it was lit then too. But, you know, I had spoken to somebody from CSO currently when I came to a workshop a few months ago, and there were things that they didn't even know their organization did, and I'm like, how's that possible? Because CSO was known for certain things, the fashion show, Bob Marley night, the pageant, CSO pageant, those were like staple programs for CSO, and they didn't even know what it was. I don't know if it was like that COVID gap or whatever the case may be, but they also didn't know that you were allowed to throw parties like in the Union Ballroom or in the SAT. I'm like, wait, what? Like, so where do you people party? They're like, we don't, they go off campus. I'm like, things have definitely changed. I don't know if it's because of COVID or they just don't know what they can and cannot do here on the campus. But, you know, does Black Women's Weekend, is that organization even still around?
Black Women's Association, yes.
Oh, so it used to be.
We have a founder, we have a founder, we have a founder.
So when I was here, it was CSO and Black Women's Weekend were the two popular organizations that everybody looked forward to. I mean, St. John's came, Adelphi, Hofstra, everyone came to those specific weekends from CSO and Black Women's Weekend. And I think that's what this campus is.
So I was part of the CSO pageant, and I had a dress made in the Bahamas and flown here. So to that point, but to that point also, all of our parties were here. I remember the campus threw a party off campus one year, and it was like, wow, we're going off campus for a party. So again, differences.
So short answer to that question is yes. The pandemic hit hard, and our leaders who built the organizations graduated. So now coming back into campus, we are redefining for the students who want to pick up these organizations. First, we got to build their skill sets, you know? Then we got to find the folks who have the historical knowledge and context, find ways to connect them back to share that information, you know? But as far as the vibrancy of campus life, for me, my motto philosophy is it has to be student-led and driven. So if the students say, hey, we got ideas, we need resources, in every speech I do during orientation is I say where my office is, and if you dream it, we will build it with you. Dean Chambers has been at Stony Brook, so she has a lot of great history and knowledge about our students and what we've done and where we're going, and her door is always open as well to say, okay, so how do we rebuild this community? I do hear those things about what life has been like pre-COVID, and I think we're trying to get back to that. You know? But I think a lot of it starts with the student
leaders in this
leadership.
room. We have skill set in this room, right?
We're CSO in this room.
We do have a lot of good student leaders.
We gotta get that budget back. When I was president of CSO, we had a $50,000 budget.
Jalen, did you pick him up to this question? I feel like this got you written all over it, sir. You know? However, I will say, our last USG president, Manjot Singh, recognized the inequities in the USG budget. And he fought very hard to pull money from our intramural sports clubs to have more funding available to our cultural groups, okay? So I think we're in that rebuilding phase. I know getting access to funding, rules gotta be changed, things gotta be processed and worked through. We're on that right path.
And I'm gonna extend some grace to the admissions, I think is what you call administration. You know, if you all don't want these groups, you know, the administration can't fight for a budget, for a $50,000 budget for groups in which there are no interests. So if you all form and you create those groups and you really push the administration, whoever that is, to budget to fund them, then they will have the right to fight for it because they can have a voice to say, this is what we want on the behalf of our students, this is what they're asking for. And then they can compare it to other budgets and say, why do we have a multi-million-dollar athlete sports budget, but we don't have it for these types of groups. But if no one is forming those groups, if they don't have people in the student body that are raising their hands to lead these groups and have them thrive and keep them alive, well then they can't get a budget for something that doesn't exist. So I'm gonna extend just a little bit of grace.
And I'll shout out Black World, because they were one of the groups who came to the administration and said, hey, we want to bring this back. where the money at? So if you haven't seen the Blackboard edition yet, realize that they were one of the first groups to reach out to me and say, we've got ideas, we want to do stuff. So shout out to all of you in Blackboard so far.
Yes.
Also, ASU and oh my God, BWA came to me as well, and they hosted a Blackboard event on Solar Steps in the fall semester. So again, student-led, student-driven ideas do get funding through our office.
We alum are going to come back for our homecoming, and we expect to see these groups up and running.
Thank you.
I think, and this is me coming from being a former, I spent 7 years being an administrator here. I was an advisor to my fraternity, to Omega Phi Beta, SOB, Cadence, a bunch of other groups. I've mentored a lot of students on this campus, and being a former administrator, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna give you guys all the kudos, because what you're seeing right now with you guys over there, you didn't see. In my 2012 to when I left in 2020, you didn't see this. You didn't have that administration. You only had a few administrators of color that were trying to bring the light or trying to help the students have a voice. And like I said, voice is your value. And I think having the students understand that their voice is their value is probably the one thing that gets oversight. Right? And it has to be a continual thing, just like we're fighting racism, just like we're fighting bigotry, just like we're fighting prejudice. It's a continual thing. So you have, let's say, 2015, you have a group of students that are fighting, and they're there for 3 years and they graduate. Are they passing that on to the next students? And does that generation have enough fight that that generation had, or that class had? So it's not just about the administration, but it's about, do the students have that fight? And even if it's passed down, do they even have that within them? Or do they know that they have that within them? So it's an inner look first from each individual student to say, hey, this is what I need to do to get this done. And if I'm not doing that, administration can't do much. And I'm telling you right now, administration can't do much if students are not having that voice.
So I'm gonna piggyback with what everyone said. So during my undergrad, I served as the VP of Student Life. So basically I was a part of USG, and to be honest, I know it's easy for us to blame administration, but sometimes, as students, being I was a recent graduate as well, I could tell that sometimes students didn't do their due diligence when it was time. So such as budget, I know you complain, you said CSO's budget used to be high, but if there were students that were missing their budget meetings, there were students who were given budgets but were not doing anything with it. So being a part of and I was on the board, I was trying to fight, but you can't fight for, money, you can't fight for a group if they're not willing to put in the work themselves. And I feel like it comes down to because when I was a part of USG, with my brothers, I try to also teach them the different systems that goes on in Stony Brook, so they could have leadership positions. When I came, we didn't have SAC party, but I fought for a SAC party. I had to fight for it. Jarvis was here previously, that helped me out. Dean Chambers helped me out. But at the end of the day, sometimes there will be times where we'll give these students certain things that they do want for, but they tend to not want to continue it. So as a school, if they feel like there's no value to these programs, or they feel like students are not really engaging, how can they want to continue to put money into it? So we could sit here, but it's a two-way street at the end of the day, and just being at that side, seeing the administration side as well, I could tell that Stony Brook has changed, but students do have the ultimate power if they actually try to actually advocate for more things, because at the end of the day, it is your money. You're the one paying tuition. College, if you're not in school and students are not in school, how do colleges get money? So students gotta realize that they have to get these town hall meetings. They have to go to programs like this. I'm surprised to not see as many students to be here, because when in the past, if you hear Greeks are coming, D9 is a panel, you see a lot of students coming because they want to learn, they want to get educated. So it comes down to, students just having an interest in what they want to see the college provide for them. So that's the only piece of information that I wanted to share about that.
Coach, I appreciate that, because I think what the pandemic also did, if you're not documenting, pros, cons, challenges from past events, right? Traditional events, and then archiving them, that's where we lost things. Because, not for nothing, even some of our traditional programs and campus residences, they're gone. Because no one knows, let alone the culture. It's always the cultural ones, right? Where you're like, well, what about that? And they're like, I don't know what that is, right? So I'm like, but what's, no. I said, okay, we're gonna start from scratch. But I think that's important in terms of, number one, the accountability, but also the training, the students training the other student leaders to make sure that everyone is educated and knowledgeable about what you're trying to do. So we're gonna hit you all with 2 more questions. So the next one is, how closely connected are the different D9 fraternities and sororities? Like how the sisterhood and brotherhood outside of your organization. So Greek unity, favorite word.
So I'll say I feel as though it's very well connected. Obviously on an undergraduate level, it's very, very, very competitive. Everyone does their own thing, the chants, the strolls, the hops, et cetera, but at the end of the day, we all have the same mission, to help excel our people, our communities, our members. So I think we're all very intertwined. And a lot of our organizations were helped by other organizations to come into existence. Only real true Greek history buffs would, understand what I'm saying in that, but we are definitely all intertwined. I could speak on behalf of myself. I'm the 46th Q in my family out of 57. I have 136 deltas in my family, 48 alphas in my family, 28 kappas in my family, 4 sigmas, 3 iotas, and 29 AKs in my family. That's just my family. Going back to founders. Like, I'm the great-grandnephew of one of the founders of my organization. And our organizations are very deep-rooted. So I would say yes to that question.
I would also like to say that, like any relationship that you have in your regular life, it really is what you put into it. So if side note, Zeta and Sigma are the only constitutionally bound fraternity and sorority, so they don't leave me alone, I don't leave them alone. My line sisters don't leave me alone, I can't get rid of them. My chapter, again, they don't leave me alone, but I have Kappas who I can call, I have Qs who I can call, I have other organizations that even D9 that I could call, that they can call me. So it's really, if you put the effort in, you're gonna get received. It's just like family, we argue, we fight, but at the end of the day, if you call me, I got you.
I agree, I'll add to that. I don't have all those. My family do not have the Divine 9 in the family, but I didn't know that. Thanks for sharing that. But I just would say, we all entwined, it's a sisterhood. And one of my best friends is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha, and I'm Delta Sigma Theta, so I just think we entwine, our mission is basically the same, community service. And for me, in my administration as president, is just doing a lot of collaborations to show that we are technically the same, we just wear different colors, we have different mottos and different missions, but our ultimate goal is to uplift the community, to enhance everyone. So I just wanted to say that. So we're family, so I wanted to add that piece to it.
Also, I feel like from the outside looking in, a lot of people tend to try to create that narrative about, Greeks and like different organizations as not, wanting to work with one another. But if you actually look at it, when we do community service programs in our community, it's different organizations all together. When we do different social events, even on campus and off campus, is organizations together. And sometimes, like, I have friends who, before we, got letters, we were friends. And even though we were different organizations, we're still close because at the end of the day, a lot of our ideals are aligned together. But it's more so what other people try to say about us or the perception that they have of us that tries to create that division. But ultimately, if we're all one.
Okay, so we're going to go with our last question. And first and foremost, I hope that all of you as alumni will stay connected, not only to our students, but to our Student Affairs Office, especially me as Dean of Students, because I want to hear those stories about what life was like during your time and your experiences, but also find ways to transcend that into today's college students so they can share in those experiences when you come home for homecoming and you're like, oh, we did this, we did that. And they're not looking at you like, what is that? What they're doing is saying, yes, we're doing that, and we're still celebrating that good work and that legacy that was started. So first of all, give our amazing panelists a round of applause. You guys are sharing some good, deep, rooted history, and I'm just being moved by your experiences. And I'm like, okay, we need to build that campus back. You know, we need to get back to that. So I appreciate it. But with today's college student, perspective on things. So
one quick thing. You know, for all the students at Stony Brook, you kind of need to learn something. You're never alone. And you need to start getting your roommate, getting your next door neighbor, and forming that bond. And like how fraternities, sororities get together is, I was on a campus, I didn't know nobody, but somebody brought me in. And that's how I knew I was gonna come out, that's another story, but somebody brought me to the alphas, and that's how I became an alpha. You have to bring somebody with you, because you should never walk a campus alone. You should never be by yourself. And you're never alone, because there's somebody next door who's doing nothing that can find themselves. There's 22, probably 30 students in here. If you got your neighbor, that's 60. And if they got their neighbor, that's 120. So you're never alone, and you should never be anywhere alone. And if you're alone, you need to find somebody. And it's not about these organizations that are here on this panel. It's about finding somebody and networking, because college doesn't teach you anything about work, but it teaches you how to network. And network is the key to success, because you can't go anywhere unless you learn how to network.
So Ron already kicked the ball off with give some good advice to you all. So we're going to keep that going as part of the last question. And I'm asking the panelists, for those that want to share, what advice do you want to share with our students about preparation, and being successful in college, or advice on life after college, or how to stay engaged while you're finding a sense of belonging on college. Whatever that advice you have, here's a good chance to kind of lay it on the table as we close out.
Well, I'll add, to Ron, getting involved. I think that's extremely important. Life after college, get involved with your alumni association. Come back to your campus, so that way the new students can see the older students looking just like them and can enhance the different programs that no one wanted to participate in or fight for those extra funding. So I think that's extremely important, and that's something that I didn't really do, get involved after life after college. It took me years to get involved with my alumni association. So I think that's extremely important. Once we get involved with our alumni association, it would just keep us entwined with what's going on within the campus. So I will say, after you graduate, still come back, sign up to be an alumni, and I think that's important.
Thank you.
I would also say that, if you do choose to go the Greek route, stay in touch with, those that you cross with and the other neighboring chapters and, things like that. Just me coming back for an event that I was invited to, I got to meet CSO, and now we do a Zoom like every month, and we have a group chat so that they can see the history of what their organization was before the whole COVID thing happened, because it's the truth. COVID caused that gap. But we're glad that we're in their lives and we're coaching them to do the things they need to do to get CSO back to glory. But like she said, you just have to be in tune and connected. And I don't know who said it first, but your generation, you guys gotta get off the phone. Yeah, constantly on the phone. Let me explain something to you. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, those are not real worlds. They're not real worlds. Everyone that's in this room engaging and listening to the panel, this is the real world. That social media stuff it's a tool, but it's not the real world. Some of you sit on it for hours. You know what I mean? Get out there, meet people, engage, try something new.
I think that, go ahead. please.
So, Ron, I love that reference to 22 people being in the room for obvious reasons. You know, the piece of advice that I would give to you all, and I try to give this advice to my daughter who's here today and also a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated as you talk about legacies. You know, part of it is really getting out and experiencing the world, but also take time and have fun. You know, this is time that you will never get back. Stop trying to think about wanting to graduate, wanting to get a job. There'll be a lot of time for work. Enjoy this time and this experience that you have today and really make the very best of it. For those of you that are considering joining an organization, and I suspect maybe most of the people in this room are, do it. You know, I always say I came in the 90s, Cordelia is a Delta, she's here from the 90s era around that time, and we were all, sororities, fraternities, we were all very close-knit. Even though we made an option and chose to join our respective organizations, I like to say that, well, depending on the organization, I like to say that, you know, you literally, if you are a regular person with good grades, you can basically be a part of any organization that you want. It's a matter of what organization do you choose. And there's various reasons why people choose the organization that they chose, but you know, if you're really thinking about being part of an organization, pursue it. But before you pursue it, know that history. Know what you are associating and affiliating yourself with, because it is a lifelong commitment. I talked at the top about being a life member of my organization, and it is a lifelong commitment. But it's really how you begin. I'm so impressed by this young man with this family, this whoa, I've never ever in my life met someone that has that many people. But you know, it is definitely a membership of, it's definitely a type of pride that you have. I am part of an organization, I sit on our executive leadership. We are a multi-billion-dollar organization based out of here, based out of Long Island. And as part of our executive team, which this all has happened in the last couple of years, we have our chief legal officer is our chief financial officer is a Q. Our chief legal officer is an Alpha. Our head of strategy, our chief strategy officer is a Kappa, and I am a Sigma Gamma Rho. This is all in our executive team, which was a couple of years ago, maybe about 20 people. And so I was literally the very first Black person to join our executive team. And so then we expanded and we added all these people. I don't know about anyone else's, whatever anyone else's organization looks like, but that is unheard of. So when you think about networking and connecting and building people and building relationships, associate yourself with someone that you can network once you graduate from school, and make the best of your time here.
Can I say something? I think one of the biggest things to the onion of who we are, the layers that we have in engagement and involvement and grades and all these things is trust. Right? Do we trust the people that we're talking to? Do we trust the organizations? Do we trust the people that are trying to get us involved and things like that? I think that taking that look within the dorm rooms or wherever you are, walking to class and building that trust within ourselves and then taking that to the outside. It's hard to trust people. Let's be real, right? It's hard to trust people in any organization, whether it's fraternity or anything. So I think finding that peace or that place in yourself and in your heart where you trust that person, because when you join something, like you said, it's a lifelong bond, you're giving part of your life to that person, you're giving a part of your life to that organization, you're adding value to that organization as well. But having that trust in yourself that you're making the right decision is key. So I think continuing to self-affirm and really even seek mentoring and counseling from people within these organizations to understand their journey and where they come from will help people develop and hopefully be more apt to join these organizations than apprehensive.
One thing I also wanted to say is I think most importantly, one thing that I notice a lot of students or my peers sometimes, in my generation at least I could say, is just taking initiative. You know, taking initiative, just doing it if you want to do it. And I feel like sometimes a lot of people don't want to take the initiative. They feel like they don't have support. Support is always going to come after, you know, but the first thing you have to do is just take that first step, you know, and also secondly, just not being scared to fail. Because I feel like a lot of people, especially like students, when it comes to like having different programs or trying to do something to elevate campus life, but you know, you keep getting the door shut, it discourages some students, but trust me, like that's gonna come whether you're in school or outside of school. There are gonna be a lot of doors that are gonna close, but You just can't.
A class or passing a test you didn't think you were gonna pass. Celebrate that, because as you get older, those little successes become a little bit harder to come by. And celebrate your failures. It's hard, but look back and celebrate that, because it makes you grow. It makes you become. I've learned a lot of myself through my failures. I wouldn't be here if I didn't fail. Everyone's journey, if you're looking to join an organization, everyone's journey to an organization is very different. My first informational, I came with a friend, my roommate. I became a member the next semester. She waited 3 years for whatever reason. So if it's for you, if Zeta, if Sigma, if Q, if it's in your heart, you'll get it. Your journey's just different.
Yeah, I would definitely say if you are planning on joining an organization, definitely please do your research, because like I mentioned before, it's definitely a lifetime commitment. Also, don't be afraid to seek mentorship as well, because I'm somebody who I came in under EOP, right? And I had a PAT who was the coolest dude out, right? And then he ended up becoming a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, so that kind of raised my eyebrows a little bit, and it made me want to do research and things of that nature. So definitely, don't be afraid to seek membership, and also enjoy, and like I mentioned before, enjoy your college lifestyle, definitely, because after you graduate, it's gonna get a little hard, but as far as whatever organization that you're in, whether it's a fraternity, sorority, or a professional organization, that will still have some cushion for you after you graduate. You know, you're still gonna have that networking aspect as well. So definitely take that.
Wow, what powerful insights and wisdom and perspectives from each of you. Thank you so much. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Some of these folks will kind of hang around. You can kind of have some one-on-one time with them if you like. I'll turn it back over to our amazing host, but please give our panelists another.
Thank you so much to our panelists yet again for making the time to come to our campus. I know many of you may have come from far away, but also expressing that dedication to be here. I wanted to also share that, this collaboration between the Unity Cultural Center, which again is part of the Office of Multicultural Affairs, and the new Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life, this event is part of a series that we have committed to doing a fraternity and sorority every diversity month throughout the academic year. So as you know, here at Stony Brook, October is Hispanic Heritage Month, currently Black History Month, next month will be Women's History Month, and so on and so on. And so Sixto and I are developing similar types of events for each of the months. So if you are currently on campus, an alumni or representative, and would like to participate in the planning of future events, whether they're for diversity months or not, please feel free. Ron comes to our Black History Month planning meetings when he can. So also any diversity month committees are open to our alumni. We have lots that come in from time to time. We want to thank all of you for coming as well, our moderators, Dean Ric McClendon, and Associate Director, Mrs. Unity Watts-Bailey. One of our original creators of this event, Jalen McLean, my colleague and friend Sixto. Please continue to enjoy each other's company. There's some refreshments and things on the menu still left, and we'll stick around for a little while. We are technically at the end of our program at 9:30, but I don't think they'll kick us out. So we did want to take an opportunity to get some photographs for our record in posterity. You want to talk about it?
So we're gonna do just panelists and moderators, panelists, moderators, and all the administrators in the room, and then all Black Greeks, and then all Greeks in the room, period. Right, okay?
As per Jalen's request.
I see a magnified